What's up, fellas?
Hey,
how are y'all?
Good to see you.
Good to see y'all, man. So Ken Sanders, you've never been on before. Tom, you've been on. I believe this will be the third time you've been on, but I wanted to bring you guys on because you have a lot of shit going on. WODGODZ, of course, and then your new venture, the Paddock, and then you guys. I guess Ken, give us the intro first, because people listening or watching may not know exactly what you do.
My day job is facial plastic surgery. I'm about 22 years into my practice, something like that. On Line Avenue, my name, Kenneth Sanders, facial plastic surgery. Gotcha. I do mostly cosmetic and aesthetic work, hardly any reconstructing anymore. Thankfully got away from having to take insurance, and so
gotcha, yeah.
I don't have to accept what the government says I should be paid for something. So I can actually just charge you what I think is fair, So it's a good way to do it, but it took some time to get there. Gotcha. So that's my day job, and then my free time is, as you probably know, a lot of CrossFit, a lot of Paddock with Tom. We've been spending quite a bit of time in the last year to getting that project up and running, and daily maintenance basically on it. So,
well, how's that? Let's talk about that. I mean, if you guys want to tell me a little bit about it, because we haven't really. I talked to Tom briefly about it right before it started, but I haven't been there yet. I want to get over there and check the place out, but it's pretty excited for what you guys are doing, not only in this local area, but just in this region, I guess.
Mm-hmm. He kind of had. I mean, he. Really, have you told him the story of how you found the thing?
No, I'll give you the genesis story, and you can read about it on our website. If you go to the About Us section, and then kind of the history of it is, I've always been into Porsches since I was a little boy. I think I was 6.
Same here.
When I was 6, I saw my best friend's dad come home with a 1976, maybe 78 Targa, 911 Targa, and I was like, that's the car I want. And just my whole life I've wanted a 911, and I was 42 before I bought my first 911. So it was a 1970 classic style 911, and I got it from a consignment dealer out in California in Costa Mesa, Auto Kennel, wonderful place. And I just went there a few weeks ago to visit. I bought 3 cars from him there over the years. But when I was out there, I came across this. I went the week of the...
Hold on, let me stop you. Mm-hmm. When you bought the car, what number in line was I with the text? When you bought that car, I'm trying to figure out, because I don't know the answer to this question. So let's see just how close we are.
That's so long ago, Ken. You were one of the first.
I had to be. I would think I'd be one. Who else is going to know what a 1970 911 Carrera means to you?
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that weekend was the weekend of the International Porsche Memorabilia Show, where people from all over come to LAX Hilton, and the whole town turns into a Porsche fest. And all the Porsche dealers and restoration places and all that are open house for the weekend. So you can literally drive from place to place and just have free access to see what they do. So the Paul, who owns Auto Kennel, took me around on a tour of all these places because he knows them all. And one of the places we went to is this automobile storage. He said, I want you to see this cool place. It's where they're storing cars. Well, I'm thinking, a garage with cars in it. Why are we going to see this? But we walked through the doors, and I was like, where are we? It was like we were in a gentleman's club. There was guys sitting there reading the paper, smoking cigars, and there was a pool table. There was a bar. Just really cool atmosphere, and guys in there enjoying it, talking and doing whatever. And then you walk through, and you see the glass windows on the other side. You walk through, and it's just 200 cars easy in LA. 200 cars just parked. I don't know if it's that many, maybe I'm exaggerating, but a lot of cars, anything you could think of. And I came back to Ken after that, and I was like, you won't believe what I saw in Vegas. I mean, in Los Angeles. This is something we got to do one day in Shreveport. So that was 2014, I guess.
Yeah, he was dreaming about it, salivating over it, and all he needed was just a little poke. Let's do it, And
so we found we started looking, and my brother's a real estate agent, commercial real estate. We found a place in 2018. It was over on Quimper behind the Auto Mall in Shreveport, and luckily that deal fell through because the place we've got now is so much better. But we think about it every year or two. Trent would send us something, and He's like, yeah, no, or I have something going on. I couldn't afford to get involved in something else. But then finally this.
Well, he was a little more adamant with the last. I mean, he sent this. He was like, "This is the place."
Yeah.
Kind of that kind of an email, you know. He
Perfect
said, "This
place.
is it."
And I looked at it before I even told you. I said, well, let me look at it and see if I want to get involved. And I looked at it, and I even called Ken and said, this is it. God's just opened the heavens and shone his light on this place for this project. And we're both at places in our lives and financial stability that we could do it.
Well, and then we had because there's a third partner in that. That's,
right.
Well, actually, third in the Paddock business, but then a fourth in the whole project, the property. But we had met Grayson Bailey Bonds, a local business guy. You know Grayson. He had become kind of a track rat with us, running around taking our cars to tracks and doing that kind of stuff. So we had gotten close with him in the car stuff. And unfortunately, he's a BMW guy. He's not a Porsche guy, but he's still fast on the track. But so he's a partner with us in it too. He heard about it and we talked about it. He said, "I'd love to be involved."
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so this place now, how many starts? What's the layout here? So how many cars can you store? And then also don't you have like a little private members lounge or what? Tell me about this.
It's
place.
very similar to what he described. In fact, we modeled it after his pictures of the place, and it has the garage area is a big giant warehouse, full capacity,
60.
Yeah, 50-ish, mid 50s, full capacity, like lifts all full, everything full. And then it has the cigar bar field, hangout area lounge. We call it the lounge. It's got a patio, outdoor patio, streaming, 12 TVs and streaming music and streaming video and a full bar stocked. And the big thing.
Big and.
So this, I found this thing. We were talking about simulators, and we've all seen these little few $1,000 simulators. You sit in them, they look really cool. They maybe kind of bump a little bit. And somehow I was on Instagram or YouTube or something looking at simulators, and I ran across this thing, and it looks like an astronaut training device or something very dramatic. And I found their website and looked and finally came across the price. I was like, oh my God. It's well over six-figure machine. And so, I said, well, that's because we had already been tightening our pouches because we spent a lot of money on this project already. And I said, I'm never going to get this by the guys. And I sent it in a text. I think I sent the link in a text. And Tom's usually the first one to okay, we got to talk about the finances, or he's usually one of the first ones to, rightfully so. We need to.
And I did, but the first time you sent it, that's what I did. Remember, he contacted me later.
But after. Then the end of the story is he texted me back, said, if we don't buy it, I'm buying it. so that was my answer. Okay, we're getting it, because he fell in love with it. I originally
said, that's awesome, Ken, but there's no way we can afford this. We're already over budget, and I'm not. I don't want to get any deeper into debt. But then a few months went by, maybe 3, 4, 5 months went by, maybe 6. Yeah, 6, because it was in August when he contacted me. And I had contacted him originally asking him full pricing and what it does, blah. It was an awesome machine. But I never contacted him back again. Well, the guy called me and said, hey, I got a deal for you. I know you were interested. Someone commissioned this project but has backed out. It's halfway through the build. It's an awesome machine. Give it to you for a steep discount if you're still interested. And that's when
you couldn't pass that up.
That's when I got the text of, we buy it or I buy it. So I was like, oh hell, that sounds great.
Well, so what is this? What's the name of? What does it do? Specifically,
it's a Force Dynamics. FORCE Dynamics is the company, and it's a 401CR trainer. Okay. So the big thing is it's full motion. So if you get in a car or a plane, it's a flight simulator too. But we do cars. You get in a car, and if you stomp the gas and turn left and you just want to do donuts, it will just spin and spin.
Yeah, it's on a rotational axis.
Okay. So full motion, up, down, brake, turn. I mean, you feel as close to driving a real car on a track.
If you're turning the wheel and putting on the gas, it's spinning, so it feels like you're turning. and your brain can't tell the difference because you got these screens, and the screens wrap around 100 and something degrees.
160, I think.
Oh, it's 160?
I think it's 160.
Wrap around here. So, I mean, you're engulfed in this full vision screen, and it's spinning. Your brain thinks you're doing a turn, and then you press the brake, and it slams you forward because the thing tips like this. So it's spinning, tipping, yawing, rolling.
And these guys are they're industrial engineers that used to build big industrial machines, and also they were car fanatics.
Okay.
So they came together in their two passions, and they built this thing. And if you need to come by and take a look at it.
Oh, I definitely want to
check it out.
Yeah.
But it is, you can just look at it, and it's just solid, big billet aluminum, and just massive. Everything's just massive and overbuilt, very over-engineered. It's an incredible machine.
So you guys are, so you have that so people can actually go in there and actually have a full-on like race simulator pretty much.
It's very close.
We have Landon Matrion-Lim, who's an F3 racer, who practices on our machine at the Paddock.
Really?
And he uses it like it's intended to be used because it's an almost one-to-one transfer to the track. Because you can download the track. Where you tell that story because you know more of the tracks and stuff. It was in Australia or New Zealand.
So back up, and I mean we need to kind of underscore that there's not, people listening that know F3 Formula 3. Right. There's not many of those guys in the world. There's one lives right here in Shreveport.
And he just set
pretty
a track
impressive.
record today.
Set a track record at a track in California. Thunderhill Raceway set the track record.
He's good.
Track's been there for I don't know how many years, and he just set the track record in a Formula car on it. He's up and coming. Obviously that's his career. That's what he does. He's 21 years old is what he does for a living. Just came back from New Zealand, went and raced the summer series in New Zealand. It's the opposite, seasons as us, right? So he was down there racing the summer season, and now he's back in the U.S. for the season this year, F3. Anyway, he lives in Shreveport, and his dad's a friend of ours. He's a physician, and he
very good driver in his own right.
Very good
Better
driver.
Better than me, for sure.
Better than all of us.
Yeah.
He's a good instructor. And anyway, his son is going the next step and, trying to do professional racing. So he heard about, when we got this thing, he was one of the first people we thought about because he could really assess it and use it. And so he comes and he's really into it, knows where to find the tracks and how to download them and get them up and running and, with different programs. As far as transfer of how real it is, so I did it recently. I was going to do a race, my first actual race, and I was going to test on a track I'd never been on.
Okay.
So he downloaded that track for me, and a car similar to the car I was going to be driving. I practiced for about 2 weeks on our simulator.
So you can dial in specific car too.
Absolutely.
Specific
points
car,
and everything.
specific track, weather.
You can you can make the track dusty.
Yep.
Okay.
Slippery, rain, sun, morning sun, afternoon sun. I mean, you name it.
Whoa. Okay.
You can really dial it in.
It's amazing.
So we put the car on. Anyway, so I practiced, had my best time, and then went to the track and ran 0.4 of a second slower than my track time on the sim. Almost exactly the same.
That's insane.
That's insane.
So he used it before he went to New Zealand and said it was like I already knew the track.
Yeah.
And he was.
And there, I guess
you feel the bumps. The bumps. These devices, these laser scanners that read the tracks are so sensitive. I think what did I say? 2 millimeters?
Yeah, it's
something
under
like
a centimeter.
It's amazing. Like all the bumps are there. You feel them. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's insane.
So it's very effective.
There's one that we know at COTA. We've been on the COTA track in Austin where you're coming up the front straight into turn one, and it's a break
bump.
point.
Yeah.
You always brake right after the bump because if you start braking before, it's like you skip over it. But you can feel the bump in the simulator because it raises you and puts you back
crazy.
down.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
It's
I've never been anything
it
like
makes
that.
some people motion sick. My son got a little motion sick, and there was another guy that had to get out because he felt like he was nauseated.
Well, I mean, I can imagine, but making it feel like it's moving, but it's not. But it's just fucking with your head.
It does. It's available to the public for a nominal fee.
Yeah.
Check the website out.
Gotcha.
But it's
And you don't have to be a member of the Paddock Club or anything. It's separate. You can go and schedule time.
Yeah, we have people.
You can buy multiples to get discounts, and we'll arrange to get you in and get you riding.
Back to the motion. So some people that are really prone to motion sickness, it can make you motion. It's that realistic,
right?
If you're real prone to it and you don't like driving fast and hard G's and all, you won't like it. We've had people do that. My wife's one of them. She got in 5 seconds. I'm out.
Right.
But it's ultra realistic.
Yeah, I'm definitely. You have me sold. I'm gonna try.
You got to come.
Sure.
You got to come check it out.
I'm coming for sure.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about WODGODZ, because that's something that I know a lot more about with you guys, because I've experienced it for multiple years now. And man, how did this even come about?
That came about.
That's his
when
origin
did we,
story.
17 was the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
guess.
back between. Right after I had prostate cancer, and I had surgery back in 2014. And I was pretty competitive in my age group. I'm an old guy, but I was pretty competitive at that point in the 40 to 45 or 45, whatever it was. And then had that big surgery, and that kind of knocked me back, and then came back even better, kind of. And so I was really competing all over the place, all over the local region, South Central U.S. And all the competitions suck. Like, I'm serious. They just fucking suck. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You spend all this money, there's a huge competition in a neighboring state. I don't want to get too, name calling here,
right.
But there's a huge competition in a neighboring state. Sign up for it, got to do a qualifier, qualify for it, go get it, go compete. Actually won my division that year. Handed me a $50 check after I waited in line an hour and a half to pick that $50 check up. The warm-up area was a couple of rowers, 2 pull-up bars maybe, no rings, no place to do bar muscle-ups, no, it was outdoors in the cold dirt. It was terrible.
One bar for a male.
And I'm talking about, we're spending 160, 180, $200 for the weekend to go do this competition, and they got 800 people competing, and this is the shit they turn.
And they're making that much money.
They're making a shit ton of money, and I get it. I understand the point here. That's his job. Okay, he does this one thing, and he's got to make a living. Okay, I get it. But at some point, you got to turn out a better product.
You got to put it back in your business.
I think they have improved over the years, okay? Because this was several years ago when I did this. This was like 16, 15, 16, 17, something like that. So after I came back from that, I had lunch with some guys, and I was like, you know what? This is bullshit. I said, first of all, here's my idea. We can do this. People that we don't have to make money on it.
Right.
In fact, we never have. We've all
lost money. A lot of people.
In fact, WODGODZ still owes us all money.
We've heard rumors that people think we're getting rich off of this. Yeah. We're all
in the red.
No,
for several thousand bucks.
I brought that up in the business.
It's very expensive.
I brought that up. I walked in there, and my wife were competing last year. I was like, look, there's no way they're making any money on this, because it's too nice. I know what it costs to get this place. I know what it costs to do all this, the equipment. I was like, there's no way they're making money.
Now, we're not losing anymore,
right,
okay?
Right.
We're breaking even. But what we do, when you notice, okay, the equipment is the
top
best.
notch.
It's
top
the best.
Notch.
You
Yes.
know why? Because when we have $3,000 left, we go buy some shit.
Yeah.
We go buy something.
Yeah.
We don't make money on it. Right. We don't take anything.
And it shows, and that's a good thing.
Never
that's a good thing.
taken a single dime out of it, and don't have plans to, because it's not our job.
Right.
We do it because we love CrossFit and it's fun. Now, it's a hell of a week, okay? And it's a hell of a actually last 3 months. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're literally every weekend for the last 8 to 10 weeks probably.
Testing,
every weekend.
Talking.
Testing, recording. I mean, just constant meetings, constant texting.
Checklist of ordering things and
just lots and lots of work. But it's fun.
Well, you have not to cut you off, but just so people know, I've been to a handful of competitions in neighboring states and local and all that, and it's like, and I participated in quite a few, but what you guys have is just top-notch everything, top-notch equipment, live streaming, like the organization, the volunteers, the judges, like the music.
We want it to feel for the athletes like they're in the CrossFit.
But dude, it does. We look forward to it all year. It's like, if I don't do anything else, I'm going to make sure that the last 3 months leading up to WODGODZ, I'm in shape, and we're going to make this
by athletes for athletes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of our tagline, I think, because that's what we want it to be. We want it to be what an athlete expects. I mean, how many competitions I've never been to one where you have anything. Now, they may have a water jug, but as far as we've got
unlimited energy drinks.
We've got energy drinks and protein drinks and all. We've got our sponsors. Instead of asking for them to give us money, we just say, hey, bring your wares and just hand them out. We want our athletes to get your product. We don't need your money.
Right.
You know, that's our goal, to turn out the best competition we can possibly put on in Shreveport. That's our goal.
Well, y'all done that for sure. Wow. Like, so getting that together, like, so what year did it start? Like, origin
17
story?
was our first year. Okay. So I had a lunch. I called a couple of, were you in the initial lunch? We had a lunch. I think it was at Walk-Ons in town in Shreveport. We sat down. I said, this is my thing. We can put on a 2-day competition, an ultimate kind of a regional, back then regionals, okay? Like a regional feeling competition. I know we can do it. It can be better than all of this because we will care about those things.
Right.
And none of this, we don't have to make any money on it. It's not our day job. So we can charge a reasonable fee, enough to put on this amazing thing, and nobody's getting any kind of, living off of it. So that was in probably early or mid 16. Yeah. That was probably the summer of 16. And then 2017 was our first year. I think it was 2017. So we just put it together. We put a board together, 5 or 6 of us, and that's changed a little bit over the years. We had some people move away and, some others move in and stuff like that. But the core group is still us old guys, me and Tom and Jeff Westmoreland, Jeff Dixon. That's kind of the core group.
Yeah.
That has stayed the whole time. Has been around the whole time. And we've had some kind of move in and out, because literally move in and out of town. Other than that.
And they still come back to help.
Yeah.
Tim Adams, Fred Passon.
Yeah, Tim Adams. Yeah, that's right. He's definitely part of the core group, but he lives in Fort Worth now.
And we got a few new guys.
Yeah.
That are helping out.
Well, I noticed too that the competition itself has grown immensely, but also the competitors. Like, I feel like it's getting more stiff, like, as far as competition.
That's probably just CrossFit in general.
Right, it is. And that's it too. It's like, it's crazy what CrossFit has done in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, in the movements, like what, like I couldn't even do, there was one movement that I knew that we couldn't do good enough to where I was like, we'll just do, like Billy and I did scale last year. He had torn his tricep, and I couldn't do one movement. I don't remember which one it was. Not effective enough to finish after I was fatigued.
Or pegboard? Or?
It was pegboard. I was having problems with my biceps cramping up, and so I was just like, we're just gonna nix this. But even my wife, like, she ended up winning first in RX female, but the movements added in versus RX the previous year, but you're keeping up with what CrossFit's doing. You're not just like setting your standards and leaving them there, which is awesome too, which just means that you guys are ahead of the game on everything.
Well, those pegboards, we've been talking about that for years. I mean,
they were awesome. I just didn't have time to get ready for it.
We've been wanting to have pegboards in there. It was a big spend and a big kind of engineering nightmare, I guess. But we wanted to get those pegboards in. Did your wife? You say your wife won the RX?
She won RX, yeah, female.
Did she have any trouble with the pegboard?
No,
obviously not.
She's gangster. she would get up there. We were practicing. And I was just like,
I wanted to. Yeah, since you brought up the pegboards, we had, those are Rogue pegboards.
Yeah.
Okay. We had some people that had some trouble.
I heard some people complaining or something. Yeah.
And they were falling off the pegboard, and the questions were, what kind of pegboards are these? And I said, they're Rogue pegboards. No, they're not. Rogue has Rogue. Well, we sanded Rogue off so we could put WODGODZ on it. That's why it doesn't say Rogue, So I don't know. Tom, when they had a couple people fall off of them, and they were complaining about them, saying there was something wrong with them. Tom came and climbed one right You know,
Right
he's
before the
50
event.
years, 54
53,
years old. He climbed. I climbed up one. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing wrong with the pegboards. And the girls, it was a couple of girls, and they were athletes. I mean, they were in the elite group. One of them was anyway. And
It's just a high level skill.
I don't know if
Really
it was
is, man.
if hers is different in her gym, maybe a little different somehow, something different.
Well, those are new
But-
too. There could be a different. Like, there's always something, right? It's
Yeah.
not. You're not going to have the exact same equipment you practice.
But the
on
majority of people did fine.
I heard that later on that someone said something, but my wife was like, "Nope, I did it fine."
I
was
will
like,
say, if we do it again, the one thing I'm going to want is we're going to invest
we
in
need
some
bigger
bigger
crash
pads.
I did see that where
We
some
had the
fall-
pads
yeah.
thinking if you fall, you can just land on the pad, but people fall.
Yeah.
Because of their technique, you know, instead of keeping their
tight.
body
Right.
tight to the board and pulling down, they're leaning and
Yes.
pulling back.
That's
Yes.
what I was having.
And that's
problem.
why you
I
come
had a
out.
problem pulling off because I
and
was
then
going
you
back.
and
Yeah.
then you go backwards, and
Yeah.
you know, I was
There was a girl there in the
grinding my
RX.
teeth watching the whole time, thinking someone's going to.
We did. I would agree. We could have
gotta
done
have
better on the
bigger
crash pads. But I'll stand by the peg boards
yeah.
are not a problem.
Yeah.
There was a girl in the RX, female. Our coach's wife, Lauren Miller. Do you know her? Did you know her?
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
She scaled up and down the thing and had never been on those boards at all. She had never
Yeah.
practiced on our practice board.
like a little monkey
yeah.
up there.
So I don't know. It was a weird thing. It kind of set us back. We were a little upset about that, but I think in the end we did everything.
You're always
we
going to
could
have someone. You're in a high intensity setting to where your emotions are high. You're physically
Yeah.
about to die, and,
Well, and
you
it
get
was-
pissed because you did bad. You know,
it was the
something
most
happened.
competitive group that was really
Exactly.
had the biggest gripe, I think. But you know, it is what it is. But I'm glad you brought the pegboards up.
Well, hey man, no, I just had trouble with those, and I don't know. We got one in like a week before, and I was just like, this is not. I don't feel comfortable enough. I can barely get to the mark. There's
Yeah.
no way in the comp I think I'm gonna be able to do this efficiently multiple
It's
times.
a tough maneuver. I mean, you got to have good upper body strength, but technique is crucial.
It's just like
Crucial.
muscle ups, so
Like
stuff.
anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having the worst time. I'm finally getting to where I can get those because I've gotten lighter, but like I still technique's not quite there yet. You know, just shoulder mobility and stuff like that. People don't understand, but
The urge when doing that is to treat it kind of like a rope climb, where you rely on your feet a lot to push your weight up. And to do that, you have to lean away from the board
I know,
to
and
push.
it's so
But
weird.
The feet are just there to stabilize you. They're not there to push you up. It's pretty much all upper body strength.
yeah, and that's what I was having the issue with. We'd come off, and dude, my biceps were just cramping. I was like, this.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous, but I had the worst problem, and I was probably the worst competitor at this. It was the swim. I had the worst experience with it just because I was fatigued. And I felt like I almost got rhabdo, man. I was like right there. I was like my whole body was cramping up. I'm not a good swimmer.
I'm not either. I'm usually the guy testing for the terrible swimmers. When it's a swim wad, I'm the one. He's testing for the good swimmers.
Yeah.
And I'm testing for the guy that's going to just not drown.
Dude,
You know?
I had the hardest time. Billy ended up staying on the bike the whole time. The last three or four back and forth or whatever. He was just like, just stay right there and rest, bro. And I was like, okay. But overall, dude, I loved it. I loved the year before. I've only done this most recent was my second year. So
So we just decided the dates today.
oh sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
November 8th through the 10th. November 8th
You
through
heard
10th.
it first here.
November.
Trying to get away from CrossFit, trying to get away from the CrossFit Masters games and the
Whoa.
CrossFit. Yeah, so we're going back to, initially early years it was November, December, January.
Dude,
time
I love
period.
that.
Yeah, so we're,
Hopefully everything's kind of died down.
Yeah.
It's a little lull
CrossFit seems to be stabilized
before the holidays, so people aren't totally out of shape.
Well, this will go live next week, so
Okay.
we'll put it out there. But no, I'm excited about that because dude, yeah, that makes me happy. So we're announcing dates. Anything you know is going to be in there yet?
Weights
I love that.
and a rig
Pain
and maybe some ergs.
cave,
Nice,
a pain
nice.
cave will be in there, I'm sure.
Nice. No, man. Well, I mean, what else? Like, so tell me, how did you guys get, like, did you connect over, was it cars or CrossFit or all over? How did you guys get tied up in all this stuff?
All the above.
Me and Tom?
Yeah.
I don't know. We've got a lot of similar interests.
Long
I mean-
history. I mean, back to med school.
Yeah.
My med school, his he was my resident when I was a third-year med student. You were you were an intern.
I don't remember. I was a resident, and he was a student.
I think
coming
you were an
through,
intern. I was a third-year.
So I was a couple years older, and
when I was on,
so that's when we first met. But then after that, I knew of you, but I never really saw you much.
Yeah, we probably 2005 to 10ish. We were both working out at Willis Knighton Piermont Gym, and it was a Piermont Gym. That's where he was working. Yeah.
Well, I was going more at that point probably to there was a trainer at Piermont that left and opened his own place, and
it must have been even before then. But it had to be. I got back in town 2002 after my Air Force service, so it was between 2002 and whatever.
Yeah.
I would go up to the Willis Knighton Piermont Gym, which is near my house, to work out after work, and I'd see him. Oh, hey Ken, blah blah. And back then he was all bench. He was more swole than he is now.
Lots of bench pressing.
Lots of bench pressing.
The curls, standard
the stuff we all grew up
mirror,
on.
man.
Yeah.
Backs and buys,
chest and
tries,
abs and calves.
And we thought we were in shape until he found CrossFit a year or two earlier than I did. But I started in 2012.
We were just doing me and another friend who's a local dentist. We were working out together and doing all that stuff, and he was at my house scrolling through on his phone before people did that.
Yeah.
He was one of the first, we're watching a movie and he's scrolling through YouTube, and he said, "What is this CrossFit? Look at these guys." He showed me a video, and I was like, "I've never heard of it. What is it?" He said, "It's a workout thing, and there's one in town." I said, "Let's go check it out." So we went, and I walked in the door. This is the old Red River on Uri Drive.
That Melvin's family.
Steven Melvin's
That's when I first met y'all. Yeah.
Cam
and Trey and John Lee.
Yeah.
And so I walked in there, and it was, literally walked in the door, and I saw all the crap happen. I was like, "Oh yeah, now this is gonna be fun." I was immediately hooked, and he joined too, but then he kind of fell back off, and I don't think he CrossFits at all, but I haven't ever stopped. Never went back to the other gym.
Well, and you followed right behind that, I guess.
I found it in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, I guess, 2011 probably.
Yeah.
When I went in.
So injuries, how many of you had?
Injuries related to CrossFit?
Yeah.
So I'd have to probably put my I had a quad tear, my left quad tear. I'd have to put that to CrossFit, but it wasn't. I've been told by my orthopedist,
It's weightlifting. It's not CrossFit specific.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I'd have to put it to what I do, because he said, my orthopedist asked me, well, it's got to be some explosive injury. You jumped, you landed, you did something. I was like, no, I've never had that pain. I've had a torn calf. I know what a torn muscle feels like. And I said, I've never had that. My knee just hurts. And we MRI'd it, and my quad was torn 30% off the bone or something.
Right.
It's like, I don't know what happened. I said, can it just tear fibers every day, a few fibers? He said, no, I don't think so. But now I've got my right one's the same way, so I've got to have that one repaired.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. I've never had this big explosive injury. It's just a slow,
just a gradual something.
Pain. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I'd have to put that to it. But as far as doing something and then like falling down and I'm hurt, I can't keep working out, I don't know if I've ever had that.
I always tell people it's not CrossFit that's injuring you. It's physical activity. As humans, I tore my ACL playing football. I hurt my shoulder playing baseball. I pulled my hamstring doing wakeboarding behind his boat. If you're active, you're going to hurt yourself. There's a difference between injury and being hurt. Yeah. With CrossFit, I've had some tendonitis in my elbow. Every now and then I have to lay off. I've had a little shoulder thing from doing snatches, and I lay off. It gets better. Your knee flares up every now and then. You get better. But the alternative is sitting on the couch getting sick. Well,
that's what people say. So, it deterred me for a long time, not because so I used to be the weightlifting guy, and then I did a lot of MMA stuff, and then I found CrossFit, but I would mess around with it but never get serious. And then I met my wife, and she finally got me into doing it, and it's changed my entire perspective on health and wellness. Well, I've always been a guy who watched those things, but now I have better mobility. I'm stronger. I have a better core. I'm about 30 pounds lighter, but I'm stronger than I was 30 pounds heavier.
Yeah. There you go.
But you hear these people talk, and they're like, well, I'm not doing that because you're going to hurt yourself. Well, typically, the only time I've hurt myself, I've detached a pec tendon, but that was benching. That was flat benching and nothing to do with CrossFit. The only time I've really ever hurt myself or slightly injured myself is because I was probably overtraining, because I'm bad about doing that sometimes. That's why I keep this thing on all the time, because I'm like, okay, well, do I need to train today, or do I need to hydrate, or whatever it may be? But I've been bad about that, and people I notice that have injury, it's because of that. It's either overtrained, underhydrated,
not listening to your body, and knowing your limits,
or practicing getting your technique down before you do this extremely heavy movement.
Chasing your ego.
I think that's the big thing right there. That's the huge. To me, if people are interested in checking out CrossFit, find somewhere where the coaches, check out a couple places where you hook up with a coach who is involved. Mm-hmm. And where we train, very involved. There's a couple of gyms that are very good about that. Then I've been to places where it's just not so good. There's not a lot of watching going on, because what you and I, what we all did, we were strong at fixed range of motion movements. Okay, you could bench 350 or whatever, right? But you had no stabilizer strength. You had no core strength.
Correct.
And so you walk in a gym, and I did the same thing, and especially the younger guys. Us older guys, we kind of figured it out now. The young 25-year-olds walk in, they see Tom doing muscle ups. Oh, I want to do that. And they can barely do a strict pull-up, but they're strong as hell.
Yeah.
So they figure they want to do it, and they hurt their shoulder trying it. Instead of, do some strict pull-ups first. Let's see, can you do 8 strict pull-ups? Can you do 10 strict pull-ups, before you start? Get your core strong. Get in the right position before you start trying to get on top of the bar. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to wait. They don't have patience. I've seen that over and over. So you're right. It's getting your body ready before you move to that next.
It's one of Glassman's original dictates: form, consistency of form, and then intensity. Intensity is the last thing to come, and it's a gradual process. You can't jump it, or you're going to hurt yourself. And I mean, I would love to call Greg Glassman right now. I wonder if he'd answer and tell him we're talking about CrossFit injuries and see what he says, because that's a hot topic for him, because that was all fabricated data.
Well, early on, that was a big attack.
That's all I heard. That's why I kind of was deterred from it. Not
it was
so much
literally fabricated.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's kind of gone away some now?
I still hear it. Oh, CrossFit, that's that thing that injures you.
I don't hear it as much. Not as much anymore. But maybe so.
Well, what I also wanted to talk about and mention is so I've had this conversation with my wife, because she started the Open this year, and then we ended up, she's like, whatever, I'm not worried. I want to actually train for it next year. But the games, only X amount of people can go. I don't know. CrossFit is so competitive to me that I wish it would grow so much more to where there could be more, you have the Open, and then you have the semifinals, and you have the reason, whatever that layout, the structure is, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then you go to and then you just have how many people actually go to the games per each?
40?
It's not very many.
40 male, 40 female.
I feel like
it used to be 60, I think.
And then it whittles down quickly.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. I feel like it could be so much larger, like these other, mainstream sports.
They opened up the quarterfinals percentage. It's top 25% now rather than top 10% for this year.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like that it's become such a large scale activity and sport, I guess, but there's still not so many people that know about it, and there's also, I don't know, I think there's so many people.
Or the flip side is all they know about it is what they see on CBS Sports.
Right.
They see the games.
Right.
They're like, well, I can't do that. Well, no, neither can I.
I can't do that.
Nobody can. There's only 10 people in the world that can do that,
Right.
So yeah.
I wish there were just some mid-level, like what you guys, I feel like your guys, your competition is so big. How many competitors did you have last year? Or what's your largest year, I guess, you've had? Number-wise?
300.
300,
yeah.
And that's
in 19.
And they're coming from all over.
Oh, yeah. Well,
because
we've had people from Canada.
You're paying.
Guys from Canada before.
They show up and you're paying.
All over the country.
Like you said, you go to they chase these other competitions, and they're not paying no money. They're not putting you up. You don't have a nice equipment. You don't know where you're going to be at, But I just feel like what you guys are doing to keep growing that, and that it'd be something that, who knows, you could have 1,000 competitors in it, 1 year,
That'd be That'd be, I guess, a good problem to have, but that would change a lot.
Yeah.
To get to that number.
But it's insane of the volume of like the amount of athletes. So you look at the open registration, you see these tens or hundreds of thousands of people that are doing this thing.
Like what, 500,000 almost this year?
Yeah,
400,000.
But there's nowhere for them to go other than just their little, their little competition here or there. So like, there's not a circuit to kind of groom you to. It's just like, hey, you can do the open, and this is how you grow to qualify to potentially go to the games one day.
I still love the way they used to do it with the regionals. I thought that was a cool way to do it, and for a lot of people, that was their goal. Make it to regionals.
Right.
I'm a regional. You see that all the time. 3-time regional athlete, stuff like that. Right. And you knew, hey, this guy's really good. Not quite going to the games, but he's kicking most people's butt, right? Yeah. So now it's like, well, nobody's going to say 3-time quarterfinal athlete or something. You know what I mean? It's just not the same.
Yeah.
The regionals was different, and I guess it was a fortune to put it on, is what we all heard, that it cost them too much money to do it and this and that, and I don't know, but it sure was a different feel, I think. I liked it better when it was that way.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess that's kind of what we're missing now, I feel like, but even still, like, I wish there was more competitions like your guys. Like, I really do, because like there's just not. And there's so many people out there doing it, and people don't realize how popular of a activity and a sport it is, that that it's actually beneficial. I felt there's been major changes, and Tom and I have talked about this in depth. There's been major changes in my life overall of how I feel, how I move, what things, like I used to barely get out of bed, and no, I don't have any debilitating injuries. It was just being hard on my body, not treating myself how I should have, and not being body aware. And I think getting
fuel.
Yeah, of course, drinking too much, not drinking enough water, stuff like that, watching what I ate, but also body awareness just seems to come with CrossFit if you're actually wanting to do it, because you have to learn the motions, you have to learn the technique, and in order to get those techniques and motions down, you have to be body aware.
Yeah.
You don't just like, oh shit, I woke up one day and I know how to do double unders. Double unders are even hard to figure out, for me for a little while. It took me weeks to figure those out.
I wish all the time, every day in my practice, that I could take your experience, bottle it up, and let someone feel it for just a minute, so they could step out of their matrix, I call it, step out of their reality and realize how much better things can be if they start taking the hard steps. And it's hard. It's not hard in that, intensity hard is not what I mean. It's hard
Simple
to stick
but
with
hard.
it. Simple but hard. You got to quit eating the crap. You got to do something every day. You got to be smart about your workouts.
But unfortunately, unfortunately, in this world, in our country anyway, or probably the entire world, it's almost. Well, I'm 52 years old. What do you expect? I'm old. People accept it as this is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to get fat. I'm supposed to sit.
I'm supposed to take a handful of pills every day.
Get off work and go straight to the recliner and just fall asleep. I'm supposed to do these things, because I'm 50-ish or whatever the number is. And I mean,
every day I hear that. Yeah. Oh, well, God, Doc, I'm 60 years old and my family, blah, blah, blah. It's all over my family. It's like, I'm 53. And
well, that's the problem, right? It's set in our
60. I'm going to still be doing it.
Yeah, society. We set those we set that infrastructure up ourselves. It's our fault, because our predecessors, so on and so forth. I mean, it's just happened. But also we've become more educated on body awareness, science, nutrition. I mean, I don't know what you guys grew up eating, but we didn't grow up eating the best stuff.
No.
It's just a product of convenience and parents working a lot. And you got what you got, But still, it's like, I don't know, man. We're like, Tom and I have talked about, like, what are you currently? You still like pretty much carnivore?
Pretty much full carnivore. 90 to 95% of my calories from fatty red meat.
What about you?
Keto. I don't do carnivore, but
You've been keto for a while, though, huh?
Yeah. When did we start that?
About 2018 when we
2018, something like that. Yeah.
CrossFit headquarters. We did our first podcast together.
We kind of started doing it. I don't even know how we really got into doing it, but we just did, and it's just my lifestyle now. I just don't.
I think it's when I invited Glassman to Shreveport. I don't know. Were you present when he came to town?
No, it was not.
It was 2017 when he came to town, and I invited him to come talk to LSU Grand Rounds to talk about his Buckets of Death talk about how chronic disease is all nutrition driven. And I never expected him to, but he accepted my offer and showed up in town with 3 or 4 people. And one of them, Brian Mulvaney, was kind of his right-hand man, research guy. And he asked me, "Are you keto?" And at that point, I was low carb, but I wasn't keto. I was like, I really hadn't heard much about keto at that point. But he got me thinking about it, and then he sent me a bunch of books. They just mailed books to me about nutrition and keto and all this, and I got into it, and I showed him, and that's when I got into it, about 2017. I was low carb from 2008 to 2017, then keto, then paleo, and then it's been a slow progression to where I'm just full carnivore now. It makes me happier, and it's easier, and
I went
health health markers are the best they've ever been. A 0 CAC score, CT. It's just, if you don't know what that means, is no calcium in my arteries whatsoever.
Right.
After a year and so months of.
Well, we've had this propaganda on how bad meat is for you for so long, and like especially your red meats and all that. For me, I've been doing. I would say I'm like 80% carnivore because I just really love fruit, and I use that a lot. Like to supplement energy, like especially if I've had a long day at work, and then I grab a handful of fruit before I go work out. But that's pretty much my main source of any carbohydrates. Is like I'll do like a green shake.
Do it after you work out instead of before.
Yeah, or after.
After's even better.
Yeah, after I do a lot too. Yeah,
you get that insulin-free window right after a workout.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely do it after too.
Yeah.
But like that's pretty much my main carb intake. Or I'll have like some. Like what I just had, like the nut bar, which is like 3 ingredients or whatever. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much meat driven for me. And I felt better. I've been slowly making the transition over the past 3 or 4 years towards that. And anytime, like I haven't been off gluten for a long time, so I don't touch it at all.
Yeah.
And if I do, I feel like shit for 2 days,
Yeah.
But
that's what I did first. I went paleo first years ago before, like just doing old CrossFit when I was just at Red River CrossFit. Paleo was a big deal.
Yeah, I remember
Bought
Steven
the book.
bringing it to talking about it. Yeah.
Bought that book and read what was the guy that did the paleo?
It was
anyway. Read his book and
Sears?
I don't think so. Somebody Wolf. Is his name Wolf? Anyway, did the paleo for a long time and then went straight to the keto. And I've been keto for a while, and just that's just how I live. People questioned it, and as far as fitness and performance, and Glassman said this to me. We were talking about it, and he said it's like a top fuel race car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the games athletes, comparing a games athlete to me. Okay, you don't want to burn top fuel in your engine because that engine ain't going to last very long, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the CrossFit Games athletes, that engine, they've got that 5-year window of, that competitiveness to where they can do that kind of stuff. He said that's fine. That's what they need to burn.
Right.
But if you're just trying to drive this car forever, you don't want to burn top fuel.
Right.
You want to. So that's how he described it, and I thought that made a lot of sense. It's a good analogy. And so I'm able to perform and compete as much as I want to on full keto. I don't have to carb up. And
do you ever
all that
check
stuff.
for ketosis anymore?
Not anymore.
When
Years
I was
ago,
doing
I did.
keto, every day I'd be checking
to see,
Damn it, I'm not high enough. And my problem was I was eating too much protein. And if you eat excess protein, it's converted to glucose, and it knocks me out of ketosis pretty easy. I'm probably in ketosis a good percentage of the time, but I have no idea.
I'm sure you are.
I know sometimes I'm not, because periodically I have checked it and I'll be right on the border, but I'm sure I'm not sometimes because I do eat a lot of protein. But ketosis is not my goal. Like some people who do ketosis, I gotta be in ketosis.
Yeah.
It's just, I eat healthy, natural, animal-based diet, and that naturally brings you down to that ketosis border, which is just a low insulin state is all it is.
And that's what I'm after too.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing ketones. I just know I want to be in a low insulin state, like
Yeah.
you said. I want my insulin levels to be low, and the only way to do that is drop the carbs out.
Yeah. Well, what are your macros? Do you even count those anymore?
I
Or
don't
you
count
you
them.
just
I just
you just
eat.
know what you know what you're
Yeah,
getting.
I did it
always
for
said-
when we first started doing it. I had a keto meter. I would check, and I would
Yeah.
eat this, eat that. I wasn't sensitive to protein like he is. I could eat. We would both eat a steak. He would check. He'd be out, and I'd be fine.
Right.
So I was not as sensitive to protein as he was, but there is that thing. If you eat just too much protein, like there's a lot of people that say they're doing keto and they're drinking protein drinks. I'm like, why are you doing that? Well, don't you take extra protein? You got a pretty good muscle mass. You got muscle. I'm like, no, I don't.
Ketosis requires
I don't drink
higher
anything.
fat for most people.
I just eat a lot of meat that's fatty. I try not
Yeah.
to get anything lean if I
Yeah,
can.
love ribeyes, boy.
And yeah, I order a ribeye every time I eat
Hell
steak.
yeah,
It's a
hell
big
yeah.
ribeye, and I eat all the fat and put butter on it usually,
Yep,
and
yep,
cheese, and
yep.
a lot of so that's but I still have some vegetables. He kind of cut the vegetables out too. I still do a little bit of vegetables, very little fruit, but some, and I don't check anything.
Yeah.
My
but
motto
my
is
weight
eat
doesn't
when
change.
hungry, eat when hungry, eat until full. That's what I do.
That's a great way to do
It's
it.
the only way I do it. There's no other animal on the planet that counts their macros or
Right. Yeah.
or has to be told how many ounces of water to drink a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a patient ask me, and I only do this with patients that I have a good rapport with, because it may sound a little harsh, but he said, well, how much water should I be drinking? My doctor told me I needed 8 ounce glasses of water a day. And I was like, well, I want you to go home and ask your dog how much water he needs to drink per day.
Yeah.
And then whatever he says, probably you should double it because you're about twice his size. And he thinks about what I'm saying, and he's like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
We have a wonderful...
Drink when you're thirsty.
But
drink when you're thirsty. We have a wonderful mechanism.
Yeah.
Drink when you're thirsty, eat when you're hungry. Now, the problem is modern diets have disrupted our hormonal signals. So
Yeah.
the leptin's not working, the ghrellin's not working. I'm sure the thirst signal's
Yeah, the
not
high
working
carb
because your sodium's
diet
not working.
that doesn't work
Yeah.
because you're always hungry.
You're always
Yeah, that's what I was
hungry.
getting at. Like if
Yeah.
you eat when you say eat to your full on carbs, well,
No.
that's not the
You're
same.
never full.
Yeah,
No.
that's
You're
not the
always
same.
chasing the
Well,
hunger.
it's even sicker than that. Have you ever heard of what's called the bliss point?
No, no.
This is a sick thing. It's almost as bad as the tobacco industry.
Okay.
Tobacco, they were studying nicotine and knew exactly where to put it to get people addicted but not make them sick and all that. Same thing in the food industry. They know exactly how much fat and sugar to mix to where you'll keep eating without getting full.
It's almost a 50-50
Just
mix.
let that sink in.
Yeah.
So, but think about it. How many potato chips will you eat if you open that bag?
The whole damn bag.
All of them.
The whole bag.
That's right.
There was a second bag,
and they want
you
some
go
more.
in.
And they know that. They have studied it. They
It's
know
so hard to
you will eat all of them.
Just a couple.
It's
Even if you don't
because-
eat that kind of shit, it's still
You won't get full,
It's
and you'll
because-
keep eating.
And
It's
the
amazing.
Fructose is one of the major drivers in that because it disrupts your satiety signal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a poison to the human body. People don't want to believe it, but fructose is really treated like a poison.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's insane. Like as soon as you said that earlier, like you eat till you're full, and you're talking about eating meat. Well, when you're full of eating meat, like it's
Yeah.
it's
I
no
mean, just
question.
just think about you got a ribeye.
Yeah.
Okay, you eat a ribeye, and you're going to be full.
yeah,
Take the same weight of donuts and eat that. When are you going to eat some more?
immediately.
In about
I'm like,
30
yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
you're going to need
Yeah.
some more donuts. You don't get hungry. I mean,
Yeah.
I've naturally worked to this. I don't call it that, but naturally worked into what do they call it? The fasting,
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent
Intermittent
fasting. I was after I started keto. A few months in, I was driving to work, eating my little natural bar thing
Mm-hmm.
for breakfast. And I realized I'm eating this shit. I'm not even
Out of habit.
hungry.
Out of habit, yeah.
I'm just driving to work eating, and I'm not even hungry. And I just stopped, and now I don't eat breakfast. I just do lunch and dinner.
Right.
Just naturally
Just do
work
like a
that
window
way.
between like
'Cause you're
noon
just
and 5
not
or
hungry.
something. Yeah.
I'm just not hungry in the morning.
I don't
so
usually eat breakfast, and a lot of times I just eat one meal a day.
Yeah.
If
Well, there's so many people that have all these theories and all these things, but I know it does. A lot of things attribute to genetics and how you're built, and like some people require more fat and more protein, X, Y, whatever. But I just know for me, like I count my stuff every now and then, not so much every day anymore. But I kind of keep myself in the 200 protein, 100 carb, 100 fat. but most of my carbs, I don't ever really get to 100. That's just like as much as I'll let myself get. But that makes me feel the best. I've kind of tracked everything, and that's kind of where I feel the most, like the best. And then someone else I'm working out with, he's like, man,
100 grams of carbs?
Yeah. And
that's relatively low. Well, that's not considered keto low.
For me,
compared to an American diet, that's
right,
low.
That's low, right? Yeah. But for me, I still like today. I'm at like 69, I think, when I was looking earlier, just because I was like, have I had enough? Because I'll notice if I don't get close to 100, that it'll affect my performance. That's just me, though, you know.
Yeah,
but I do like my protein.
You're a carb burner,
right?
And that takes a long time to flip that. Yeah. You're never going to flip eating 100 grams a day. You're never going to flip.
Right. You got to go.
I remember running. We were in a WOD, and I was running, and I almost felt my whole body flip over to where I didn't. Because when you first go keto, the first few months sucks when you're working out, because you feel like you got no drive, no push. And then all of a sudden, bam,
comes in,
and I was like, "Oh crap! I can work out
go
again."
Forever.
It was weird. It was weird.
I went full on carnivore and was doing intermittent fasting probably during COVID, and I wasn't doing CrossFit yet. I was just training. I just recently done my last fight, and then I was just back into lifting weights and doing cardio, and I felt a huge change in in the way I felt and how I was performing. But, I wasn't performing against anyone. I don't really know if I was never pushed to the levels where I can measure it versus anything else. But then you get to, like, I was still drinking a little bit, and so I really wasn't really doing, I wasn't doing low carb, because then if I'm drinking, whatever kind of drink I make, then it's going to wrap my carbs up, And so anyways, I just kind of felt me a healthy little, for me, that's been the layout I've been kind of used to and like for me, like as far as feeling well. But I'd be interested to see if I would just cut them all the way back out again, and to see how that would transfer into my performance in these things, like getting the new PRs or getting some more reps.
You just have to get through the pain part,
right?
Yeah. You just got to look at it and say, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm not going to worry about times and wait. It does.
Yeah,
it takes a while. It took me a while, but now a good example is people don't understand, but like my Saturday morning workouts are usually from 10 to 11, so I haven't eaten since Friday night at 8 or 9 o'clock.
Right.
And I don't get up and eat to go work out. I go work out.
A lot of days,
I don't either.
Go hard and
I eat after.
Don't eat again until 1 o'clock. And so once you flip over, you're burning ketones, you're burning fat. You don't have to have that carb load right before a workout.
Right.
Like you're kind of
right. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I'm not where I'm.
Most I think all 3 of the open workouts this year, I did the workout at 5 p.m. having missed lunch, not eating breakfast, and eating the night before, because it's been so busy for me lately. So that's 24 hours almost, no intake. And this was not my best year because I haven't been training as hard. I've been so busy doing other things, but I was still 76th percentile for my age group. Last year I was 90th. I dropped a little bit, but my strength is the same.
Yeah.
But I've still got energy to do the workouts. I just need to be more consistent with my workouts to keep my status.
That bar WOD was brutal when you got to the muscle ups. God, dude, that was a make or break right there. I bet that shut everyone down across the. Yeah. I didn't even get a muscle up. I mean, I
can do muscle ups, but I was too tired to get one.
If when I do and can do them, it's when I'm fresh, not fatigued like that. Yeah. And I was roasted.
That was the point of that, I think. Let's see who can do them, because Tom's usually really good on the bar muscle ups. And
I wanted to say, speaking of one thing you said about it's good for you, and that's what I always tell people, is everybody's diet's not going to be the same. Your body's different. You got different enzymes, different genetics, different metabolism. It's going to be a little bit different. Find what works for you. But I would say the proof is in the pudding. You need to make sure you're checking your blood levels, making sure your triglycerides are low, your HDL's high, your insulin's low, A1C's low, vitamin D's high. I found something. I was listening to a podcast, The Plant Free MD with Anthony Chafee yesterday, and it made me realize that I'm probably getting too much protein and I need to get a little bit more fat. So I'm going to start putting in more butter and lard into my diet, because there was a guy talking about carnivore and saying, check your BUN. If your BUN's high, you're probably getting too much protein and you're going to be converting that to sugar, which I know I am. So I went and looked at my lab work from just a few months ago, and BUN was a little high. It was 23, and maximum limit is supposed to be 20. So that tells me I'm getting a lot of protein.
And I remember reading somewhere.
I'm going to try and back off a little on it.
That around 40 grams in a sitting like in a dose in a meal. Around 40 grams is about all you're going to take before your body starts switching it to glucose. So it starts making sugar out of it.
I've heard that before too. I've heard that too. I've heard that saying too when it comes to like amping up the big protein shakes and stuff like that. You're only able to take in
converting it to sugar.
Right.
After about 40 grams in a sitting, you need to.
Well, what's your fat threshold? I mean, as much as you want.
Yeah. Fat,
To satiety.
because fat doesn't.
Fat
It's
is
a
a
lot.
clean metabolic fuel.
It's a lot different process. Going from protein to glucose is much easier, I guess, than going from fat to glucose.
Right.
So it's.
Well, you don't go from fat to glucose. You go to ketones.
Well, I mean, so
but
I know, but I mean, I'm saying
protein-
to store it.
right.
I heard this also. Fat is the only fuel source that skips the liver, we all know this. It gets absorbed through the gut and goes through the lymphatic channels up to the lymphatics and dumps directly into your IVC.
Yeah.
And it goes where it needs to go in chylomicrons, which are big fat globules that go to all the cells in your body and deliver energy. Every other thing, glucose, protein, goes through the liver, and the liver works hard to process protein and turn it into glucose in excess and store it as fat.
Well, so
fat is a clean burning fuel,
Right.
very low waste product, doesn't produce free radicals or raise your insulin or create glycation like glucose does. Glycation is the enemy I'm looking to avoid because glycation is killing us all slowly. And that's when the glucose molecule binds to protein, or fructose, which does it even more than glucose, binds to protein and kills the protein's function.
Well, so, and people don't need to get this misconstrued either. Fat, we're talking about animal fats. Here.
Animal
We're
fats.
talking about animal fats. We're not
Yes,
talking about fat.
absolutely.
We're not talking about fat and something else because
Not seed oils.
right.
That's
Yeah, because there's fats in everything.
horrible.
Yeah.
Seed oils.
But it's usually if you have a fat paired with a carb, that's when typically it's gonna be a bad thing, right?
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just chasing the path of like trying to longevity, I guess, because to stay sane now, I'm like, first thing in the get up cold plunge. As soon as I get out of the cold plunge, go right straight in the hot tub. That's my process. Then I start my day.
I got
Don't eat
a question
anything.
for you. How long did it take you to cold plunge? Because I
Dude.
can't even get in a cold shower.
Dude.
I keep saying I want a cold plunge,
Look,
but then
dude, I
every
tried it.
morning I'm
Well,
like
so-
turning the hot water. It's like, who am I kidding?
I
can't
tried
even-
it. It's for me. It's mental. I don't know
can't
what it
even get in
does.
a cold shower.
I'll tell you this. I don't need any caffeine. I say need. I don't crave any caffeine until maybe close to the early afternoon, whereas I crave it as soon as I got up. So it does something mentally. Like, and I mean, they say it like, of course, it does the the brown fat thing, and but for me, like, I think it's the doing the thing I don't want to do as soon as I wake up and start my day
eating
that
the
way.
frog. Have you heard that expression?
So
read that book?
We got a pool recently, and so this winter I was like, I'm gonna slowly grow into the cold plunge thing. So I used the pool, and as it got colder, I got colder, and so I slowly got up, and then finally, our warmer months are starting to show up now. So I'm like, well, so I ended up getting one now. So I have one, and it's like, I'm not down at 35 degrees yet. I'm like at 40, like I'm thinking I'm at 45 this morning. So I'm working my way down even colder.
cold.
Have you done it yet?
No.
Oh man, dude, I'm telling you.
I got a pool. I have a pool as well, and so I've done the same type
Right.
of thing. But man, about 55 or so is
It gets
all I
cold.
can
It gets
stand.
cold. It gets to your
you go in
bones.
slowly, or you
No, dude, you just got to go.
Oh no, you
Like,
got to jump it.
My kids will try to do it, and they'll get in there, and they're like this deep, and they'll jump
No.
out. I'm like, no, dude, you got to.
You got to dive in. Yeah.
You got to get in there, and then like I get down to my like my neck, because when you fit, I mean it's like a tub, like a big bathtub. You got to get in there, and I fit, and I'll sit there for 3 minutes, and it sucks, man.
It's something I want to do, but that's a big hurdle.
I don't
for
know
me.
what it does but I will tell you this, recovery wise, I've seen benefits in this. Maybe it's in my head, I don't know, but whatever, it's working. So like I've seen benefits from doing that, and then immediately getting out of that, and then I get into the hot tub for like 10 minutes and warm my body back up, and then I just get up and start my day.
I've heard there's a benefit to that flop.
Well, then some people say like doing the hot, then the cold, and then going back to the hot.
Revascularizes
But
everything, yeah.
I don't know, man. But for me, it's worked well. I didn't know if you guys have got into that yet, but I know it's.
We
I
have
know
a friend, Jeff Westmore, one of the WODGODZ, he does it.
Okay, and does he
doing it
swear by it, or how long has he been doing it?
He built one in his garage.
Yeah. So
got a freezer and
that's the chest freezer thing,
and the whole thing.
Bed lined it and all that.
Yeah, he did that whole thing.
Dude, for me it works. It sucks though. It's the worst thing getting up and doing it. It really is.
I don't know what he's down to, but I think he's in the 30s. I think he might be at the 35. Is that as low as y'all go?
I think you can't really go much lower.
It can only go to 32, 33 or freezing.
I watched a guy on some social media he'd walk onto his back porch, crack the ice on top of it, and just sit in. I was like, dude, oh my God,
it's
man.
Insane.
It had to be 33 degrees or so.
Yeah,
there,
it's
30.
so. But like, I don't know. I think for me, it's just something that I'm making myself do. But it's just like anything else, like working out. Like I guess there's some days where you don't want to go to the gym. Once you go, you feel great.
Absolutely.
You know. Because there's so many times I can attribute that more to fighting than CrossFit. I always look forward to CrossFit because we all have fun. You know, fighting, it was like, dude, I really don't want to go. But then once I leave, I'm like, okay, well, I this combination better, or did this whatever, and I felt so much, but I did not want to go before. And that happens to CrossFit to me sometimes. Like, it's just like, I don't feel like doing that today. But I've also noticed, and I don't know if you guys have been in the same situation. Have you noticed that like 3 or 4 days of not doing anything, like how you start feeling stoved up?
Absolutely. It starts to really get easy not to go then.
Yeah.
You know,
but also like everything.
Your joints don't move as easy.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't think that's an age thing, right? It's just I don't know. Like for me, it just seems like if 3 or 4 days, yes, I'm ready to go back, but at the same time, I'm like, stuff's hurting and feeling weird and not moving like it was. And it's almost like you got to stay lubed up, you know?
Yeah. Probably something to that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well, before we close this thing out, man, any last shout outs or anything? You said what's the dates again for WODGODZ?
November 8th, 9th, and 10th.
8th, 9th, and 10th.
Well, I mean, it'll be Friday. You know, Friday's registration.
Right.
9th and 10th of Saturday, Sunday.
And we're going to be same place, Convention Center in Shreveport.
Convention Center. Mm-hmm.
What's your target? Like, what's your goal for people signing up?
The more
you guys looking for
300 plus
possible.
for sure.
300 plus.
I mean, yeah, we definitely want to go 300 plus.
Heck yeah,
that's our goal.
It's always the goal.
We've got some cool ideas. I was talking to Jeff the other day, and we've had some cool ideas for the WODGODZ. I think it'll be fun. It's always fun.
Dude, I always get excited. It's always.
I enjoy the testing phase. It's cool because when we write a WOD, like we'll sit down and we'll say, okay, let's do this, and this. And it never ends up just like that. I mean, we go through and we test. We're like, whoa, that's something doesn't work. You know, this doesn't work. That doesn't work. Whatever. Can't scale it. You know, there's all kind of things. And the process is just a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Like, where do you guys test these out at where people don't know what you're doing? Like, how do you do that in secret?
Our gym on like a Sunday afternoon.
No one's there,
yeah, at night after everybody's gone, or on a Sunday afternoon we do a lot Sunday afternoons when it gets close.
Well, I don't know if people, and there may be people, because we have listeners and watchers all over the United States, but there may be people in other areas that may have like a local competition they look forward to every year. I don't know, but for here it's like, oh man, we're on pins and needles waiting for that release, almost like the Open. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to. Okay, well, all right, dude, I'll practice those workouts 3 or 4 times. I mean, I get so worried about it, and then I end up doing like not even the way I planned on doing it, not doing it that day, you know. But for us, it just seems like something we always get to look forward to, you know, the release of that. And I always wondered, like, how did you guys put that together and test that out? And what made you choose this versus that, you know, and what made you add in this movement where typically that movement may not have been in this situation or this mix of transitions, you know? The kind of behind the scenes, we sit down and have a talk about we want to try this or want to try that. Like say for last year, for instance, we're like, okay, we're doing the fucking pegboards. We're doing it, you know. So pegboard WOD, that was the name of it. Whatever it's going to be, pegboards and something. Yeah. And what was it? Pegboards and thrusters, wasn't it? God, can you imagine? Man, dude, it was so
I was the first one to test that one.
You tested that one early, too.
Bad.
And I think after we watched you, we're like, okay, we got to change some shit. not good. Tom's good at both of those, and if he's hurting, we got to fix it. But then we kind of come up with a process, and then we have to. The first thing we do is say, can we scale this appropriately? And then we think really early on judging. How does this judge? Can it be judged effectively and easily?
Explain that so people can understand where you're coming from there, because that's something that's everyone always has some fucking input on judging, right?
Oh yeah.
It's the hardest thing to get just right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the human effect, the errors. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not ever going to be perfect. It's not perfect at the games.
Yeah,
it's just not. So we've upped our game recently. We've got judges on board that have literally judged the games. They go to the semifinals and they travel around and do the CrossFit games. Drew, our head judge, has been to the Rogue and the CrossFit games. He's going to Mayhem to do the quarterfinals. So he's kind of a
real
professional
judge now.
Real judges. Yeah. But it is the hardest thing. But what I mean by the judging, so we want it to be something that's not so difficult on them, because the more you make it hard on them to look at a maneuver or where they're standing or where they just came from, like, is this guy running, and then where are they doing next? You got to think about all that stuff to make it easy on the judge. Go ahead.
One example is easy to say is if you got a shoulder part in your workout, let's say you do this, and then you do 10 strict presses.
Right.
No strict presses. It's shoulder to overhead. Because strict press, you can't dip, you can't re-dip.
Right.
Yeah.
We just would do shoulder to overhead.
So you would never have a strict press.
Never have a strict press.
Because you can't judge that.
Right. It's getting over it, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, you can judge it, but
air squats are notoriously hard to judge. Because did they go below parallel or not?
Right.
So we try to make it stuff that we think about the judging, and then I'm always, of course, from what I do, I want it to look pretty too. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
He likes the flow.
I think real early on, how does this look? And if you've ever seen me walking around at WODGODZ, you'll see me go up into the stands, because I want to see what does this look like for the fans, for the people watching.
From early on, that's his focus, is how does it look as it's
how does this
finish line.
That's something else to think about too, because there's so many WODs where if you think about these WODs you see, like we're doing Mayhem or whatever, like there's stuff that interlaps and it doesn't transition well, and also it's based on how your equipment's set up. And
you want to always be able to tell who's in the lead,
and that's why one reason last year we got those chess pieces, we call them, those big.
That was cool. That was cool.
So now we can see from the stands, we can see who's in the lead of this WOD.
Yeah, because it gets confusing when you're going back and forth.
There was one a couple of years ago. We did the high box.
It was the box one, dude. Holy shit!
And nobody knew where anybody was. It looked terrible. But it was a pretty good WOD.
It was ass kicker.
But it looked terrible from the standpoint on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And so we decided then we got to get these chess piece things, because that would have fixed that. If you just move that every time, then you know who's in the lead. So that's early on. So we think about the flow early. How does it look to the people, and then the judging and scaling. That's our three big things. Once we have a WOD,
and then you have to be able to make it a partner WOD too.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's the last thing, right? Because that's usually the easiest.
Right.
That's usually the easiest thing to fix.
Right.
The partners.
But the scaling thing's important too, because people got to realize that, I mean, there's a huge difference, when it comes to the changing entire movement and then supplementing it if there's not like a way.
And that's
to scale
where we
something.
get our most trouble.
Yeah, I bet.
Our most complaints come from the scale division. Half of them are saying we're scaling too much, and the other half are saying we're not scaling enough. So
I know,
it's it's tough. It's a tough one.
I try to just make intermediate. I'm like, if I can do intermediate, I'm good. Like I'm not shooting for RX anymore. You know what I mean?
And that's another. The easiest is the elite and the RX, because you just tell them to do it, they're going to do it.
Right.
They can't complain.
Right.
That's what we say that 1,000 times. They're not going to complain. The elites, they definitely better not complain. So you just tell them to do something, they're going to do it. RX, same thing. A little less weight, do the same thing. Mm-hmm. The intermediate, everybody's got a different definition of that. Like, what's an intermediate athlete? Mm-hmm. Does that mean they're not as strong as other people? Does that mean they can't do as many, gymnastic moves?
Right. I think you ought to tell your philosophy also. Ken's really good about this, is people who try to go down into a lower group just to shine and get the money. He calls them out.
Yeah.
I'm not at my best,
Right.
And then he pulls up their open score, and dude, sorry,
that makes sense.
You're not going into
but the reason is we got burned a couple times.
Yeah.
We had a couple athletes say that kind of thing, like, "Oh, I hadn't trained. I've been, and I'm looking at your open. I'm like, wow, dude, And then he said, "Well, I hurt my shoulder," and then he comes in and just skull drags the whole RX division,
You can't
why would you do that? I mean, that's so anti-CrossFit to me. I tell people this, I've said it last year multiple times, emailing and calling people and talking to them when they have questions. And I just say, look, most people in CrossFit would want to play up rather than down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of a thing in
Push
CrossFit.
themselves.
You're not going to go down to this. We're getting ready to, me and Tom and another couple of old guys, Jeff, both of the Jeffs, some WODGODZ, we're going to go do a local comp in town here, and we're going to do the RX. We're going to get our asses
Cole's
kicked.
gym, you know Cole.
Yeah, Cole.
The astronaut
no ceilings.
games.
No ceilings. Y'all gonna do that comp?
We're going
When
to
is
do that little
It's
thing.
coming up soon.
In a couple
13th.
weeks.
Yeah.
April 13th.
Yeah, April 13th. We're going to go do that. We're going to do RX. We're going to get our asses kicked by the young kids. But there's no way we're going to go do scale moves. It's just
Dude.
we would look. We wouldn't look right. We wouldn't. It wouldn't be the right thing.
The
to
workout he's announced, we were just texting about it today. It's a clean ladder, and I texted back. Well, I'll make it to 245, but I may not get the 265. I may not get more than one. I may not get the 245. If I'm tired, I'm definitely not going to get the 265. And Ken said, "Dude, it's a sprint. 3 minutes.
3 minute workout." I said, I'm looking just to get through the 185.
That changes
minutes.
everything because you got to do three here, three here, two here. I was like, okay,
you're not gonna get that high.
I might get 240, 205.
Yeah.
when you change that, but who cares? We're there to have fun, and
we're going to have.
we're
some
going to
fun.
get killed by the young guns.
The small local stuff like that is fun. We did one. I was over here at this gym in downtown. I don't remember who has that now, but I don't know if it's still. Yeah, maybe so. My wife did co-ed, and dude, we got skull drug because of me. I was a dead weight, and she's like, we're never doing co-ed. And I was like, I know, I suck. I'm gonna do like a RX with a dude, whatever. But like, it was just because I didn't have toes to bars figured out yet. Yeah. It was so weird, the weirdest shit. Like for me, I could run through the cleans, the rows, all the crazy stuff.
Right.
I was catching back up in just the toes to bar, the momentum, and I got it figured out now. But at the time, I was just doing the whole swinging back and forth and taking forever, just frustrating, But it's funny, man. It's so hard. I appreciate every single CrossFit athlete because it's especially the ones that are in the higher tier, like competitive race, because you have to be able to be strong, fast, the right technique, like all that stuff, and you don't have to be big. I mean, you really don't. You just have to be big enough to get that weight up,
That's
but
right.
other than that, like
The best athletes just don't have big holes,
Yeah.
Now, unless you're talking about the Fronings and the Frasers, they're good at everything.
Yeah.
They beat everybody at everything.
Yeah.
That's different.
But that's some freak stuff, man. But no, I'm super excited about what you guys are doing. I'm ready. I'm so excited. That gives us longer to get ready too. Maybe I can string some muscle ups a little better, But man, let's close this thing out. Anything else? Any shout outs or anything? Where can anyone find any information to sign up? When are you guys are going to open? We got the date, so when you open?
we haven't built out the back end.
So it'll be a little while.
So it'll be a month or two before we get that put up. But usually it's within 3 or 4 months we got the the sign up available.
I got you.
We usually release. We give some hints here and there. We usually release WODGODZ. I mean, we put a hint for the pegboard real early last year because I wanted people to be ready.
Yeah.
But we'll start releasing WODGODZ usually 4 or 5 weeks out. We start releasing. We don't want to go too early with that, but. WODGODZ.com, WODGODZ.com.
Awesome.
And then our other thing,
I'll
Paddock.
close out with the Paddock, the Paddock Shreveport, PADDOCK Shreveport.com. And if you have a car that you want to be well taken care of in a climate controlled environment that has a cool club atmosphere involved, we want it to grow. It's Shreveport, so it's kind of a difficult market compared to LA. I just went back out to LA and went to another one, and he had 70 cars in there. He had a Bentley and a Rolls Royce, and I mean every kind of classic car you can imagine, just in this unair conditioned, unheated garage crammed in there.
Right.
And here in Shreveport, we've got this really nice place we've put a lot of money and blood, sweat, and tears into to keep cars well maintained, with a nice club atmosphere, with a simulator. If you
and there's social club
there's
only.
social membership.
You don't have
also.
a car to store, you can.
If you love cars, or if you love
club.
car culture, we're going to try and build out the cars and coffee thing on one weekend every 4 to 6 weeks. On Saturday morning or something, and we want to get the car culture bigger in Shreveport. We want to be the hub for that.
You picked the right places to talk about that because we have a lot of contacts with a lot of classic car guys. I think it'd be great to link them in with you guys because I think there's I know a lot of guys that have a lot of nice rides. I'm talking, $100,000, $150,000 restorations that need somewhere to put those things. It's a little better than their, garage or their shop in the backyard.
Well, people don't understand, and I didn't my 1970 was just sat in my garage for the first 5 years, unair conditioned. Until I was like, you know what, I probably ought to get an air conditioner in my garage. So I got a little mini split. And then I was thinking, I never drive it. I need to drive it. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized cars are like humans.
Oh, yeah. You got to move.
If you're just sitting and not moving, things break down. You got to keep the differential gear fluid moving. You got to get the brakes working. You got to roll the tires. So we try to focus on that. We start them every week. We're on a trickle charger. I've been turning the tires on the ones that don't get driven and to make sure you don't get flat spots. So we really try to take care of them.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I'm excited for you guys. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.